All right. So I am excited because we're going to be talking about pay-per-click advertising. So it's a topic I always enjoy talking about because I feel like I'm spending way too much money sometimes on pay-per-click ads. And I know for a lot of folks, PPC tends to be one of those things that is a constant pain point because just when you feel like you have it dialed in, something happens and it's not so dialed in anymore. So I'm really excited to have on Ritu Java from PPC Ninja to talk about the topic of PPC. So Ritu, thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for having me. I'm so excited. I have known you for like 5 years or something.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that, yeah. It's been, we really appreciate all that you did for us, back when we were a different company and we've had like this ongoing kind of connections. I'm so grateful to, be on your podcast and really excited about this topic because this is very near and dear to my heart.
Well, good. Now, people might be saying, what on earth are they talking about here? So let's get into that here real quick. So you and I met at Seller Summit. So this is the first event I went to. And people have been listening to my podcast have probably heard me talk about Seller Summits before. I've had several of the speakers that I've met at Seller Summit over the years on this podcast. Steve Chu and Tony Anderson, who were the ones that put it on. They've been on this podcast. So people probably heard me talk about it. So you were there with Bernie Thompson, and you guys had a software tool which is no longer around called Efficient Era.
Correct.
And Bernie was a speaker at Seller Summit, and I remember this was at the Westin in Fort Lauderdale near the beach.
Nice memory.
And, yeah, nice, exactly. But it was good. I remember meeting you guys at Starbucks. So there was a Starbucks in the lobby.
Right. There was.
Yes, and we just happened to be behind, and I think it was one of those things where, like, I think you had to like go set up the table because you guys had like a vendor table, a booth. And I think Bernie might have been speaking that day, so maybe you guys were getting your day started. I remember going down a little bit earlier because I didn't want to get like breakfast and a coffee like right before going into the meetings because that's usually when the rush is. So I was like, well. Before I take a shower and all that, I'm just going to go downstairs. And so I just remember chatting with you guys because I think you guys saw my badge because I would always wear the badge just to make sure people knew I was with the group because, there's also just people staying there that are at the beach.
Right.
So it was always nice to strike up conversation. Just remember striking up conversation with you and Bernie.
Yes.
And so we've just kind of kept in touch over the years. So it's good to have you on as a guest now. So tell me how you even got into the whole world of PPC and Amazon software tools and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So I guess I stepped into this world of e-commerce almost 10 years ago when I used to live in Japan. And that was in 2010. I started my journey as an Etsy seller. So I used to have like a jewelry store. I used to manufacture my own jewelry and have both like, online and offline kind of sales, and Etsy was my main channel. But I guess what I realized pretty quickly was that, it's not enough just to create great products and put them up. You have to kind of drive traffic to it, and that was the biggest challenge. It was like, how do I get people to buy my stuff? I know when I show my pieces to people, they'd be like, oh my goodness, that's so pretty. And I wish I could get one for so-and-so and so-and-so. But then I couldn't generate that discoverability, that traffic on Etsy without, doing a bunch of other stuff. So I had to learn basically I taught myself marketing. I taught myself how to run Facebook ads and Google ads and how to do product, photography. And then I said, no, this is not enough. I need to write blogs. And I started doing like regular, posts and so on with others. And so it was like a pretty involved process, just trying to get this brand off the ground. And it was hard. Like I really figured that I need to learn more. It was, that quest for getting it right that kind of drove me to, kind of move from Japan, and I kind of went to the United States to do, basically went back to school. I went back and did a course in data science. So that kind of, started my kind of analytical journey of trying to understand how ads work and marketing and data and all that stuff works. And I got an opportunity, to work, and in a company that has been around in the Amazon space for long enough to give me enough exposure. And so that's how I started advertising. And then I haven't looked back since, because I just fell in love with PPC on Amazon. So it's now been almost 3.5 years just being around PPC data. And so now we have our own kind of software tool. So the PPC Ninja software, which is kind of designed to help sellers, agencies, and brands optimize their PPC. And then we also have an agency, which is the PPC Ninja agency, where we manage other, clients' advertising. So that's kind of my backstory. And yeah, it's been quite a journey starting from Japan, where, by the way, I lived there for 17 years. And I was like, kind of done with that country. But now I am no longer in the United States. I've been in Canada for the past 4 years. So it's been quite the journey.
Yes. Okay. So let me just make sure I understand this, and I'm filling in the blanks with things that I think I know from conversations elsewhere. So hopefully I'm not saying anything I shouldn't say here. But so as I understand it, you started out, selling on Etsy, realize the internet is not just this, you build it and they will come. Like Mark Zuckerberg didn't just throw Facebook out there and just, it is what it is today. There's a lot of build up to it and whatnot. And,
right.
There's, for all the success stories like the Mark Zuckerbergs, there's thousands that didn't quite work out that way. And then on e-commerce, we at least have more tools, I think, at our arsenal to get people to the offers. And, it's kind of a more developed system of driving traffic, but you still got to know what you're doing, because it's very easy to mess up, and they'll be more than happy to take your money either way. Yeah. And you were getting a lot of practice doing paid ads for an 8-figure seller, who you were working for and also doing other marketing projects for, and then you guys kind of branched out and started helping other people with software tools and agency, and I'm kind of mixing in some other things.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
But for the most part, that's kind of where your expertise came in with all this.
Right. Yeah. And I think I just found that advertising was just a natural fit for who I was. And I was just drawn to numbers and data. And I just loved looking at numbers and trying to crack the code. I'm like, okay, what is the pattern here? What do I see here that I want to, extract and kind of maximize and leverage? So that's something that really excites me. Even to this day, when I do PPC audits for people, I just want to just dive in and look at, okay, how can I help this person? What's missing? What can be added? What can be improved? So yeah, it's so much fun.
Well, awesome. So let's talk about some of the things you've learned along the way. So what would you say are some of the things you've learned along the way? Because you started out doing this for an 8-figure seller, so you have the benefit of data and lots of clicks and a lot of impressions. But some people doing this, maybe they're a 6-figure seller, maybe they're a 7-figure seller, but they don't have as many clicks and impressions to work with. So what are those common things that you're seeing now that you've had a chance to kind of see behind the curtain of a really big seller and folks who are not quite as big?
Right. Yeah. And we do have a mix of 6, 7, and 8-figure sellers at our agency. And in fact, there are some that are even smaller. They're just kind of launching right now. And so we're helping them. So what I've seen is that, as Amazon gets more and more competitive and pay-per-click just becomes the norm, like you can't escape it, right? People might think that you can start it off and then, somehow your organic will pick up and then you won't need PPC anymore. No, that's never going to happen, because now we're seeing that organic rank number 1 is actually position number 16 or something ridiculous like that. There's the top of search is just ads, like more and more so, right? And I think everyone's realizing that. And if it's not ads, it would probably be editorial recommendations, or it would be something like Amazon promoting their own brands, featured more brands. That takes up quite a bit of space, right? They've given themselves a pretty generous space on the real estate on the main page. So really, when we talk about organic listing number 1, it's position number 16 or 17 in most cases, in most categories, right? And so So, what used to be a scramble for keyword ranking, right, has now become a scramble for how do I get my ads up even, to the top of the search results page, the top of the page.
Mm-hmm.
So it's become almost like you're competing even for the ad spaces that are available on page one, because everyone understands that that's where the most money is to be made, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess our challenge, is to find the long tail of opportunities where there's different things that nobody is looking at or looking for, that you can kind of be watching and try to make sure that you're attaching yourself to those long tail of opportunities. So I just thought, well, maybe I could just share a few different ways in which we look at the long tail, because almost looks like the short tail is kind of too competitive. Most people get burnt out by just the CPCs at the top of the page, or they just don't build enough relevancy for Amazon to pick them up even, for top of search results. But of course, with keywords, there's a long tail of keywords as well that you can be always looking for. And I know that most people do focus on that aspect. And I think enough has been said about it. There's lots of strategies out there. You have lots of tools that help you find the right keyword with the right search volume, etc. So I'm just, looking at the other side of things, the stuff that if you did, then it would maybe not be your, the meat of your returns, but it could be a substantial bit that can help you kind of offset the expenses of like the most coveted spaces, or the pond that is oversaturated with the fishes. So yeah, that's basically what I was thinking I could share some points about.
Okay, well, yeah. So help everybody understand, what is the difference between short tail and long tail?
Right. So short tail is where you have maybe a tremendous search volume of, let's say, keywords, or it's the place where you get the most eyeballs and so on. But they're also the most expensive, right? The short tail is something that is in maybe short supply, but it is also the thing that satisfies a bunch of, or like a cross section of, targets for people. And so that becomes the most kind of coveted and most sought after piece. And it could apply to a lot of different things. It could apply to keywords. It could apply to opportunities. So it's just the way statistics works, right? There's a short tail and then there's a long tail, which individually, the long tail, doesn't amount to a lot of traffic or doesn't bring in a lot of sales. But, it's also not the thing that everybody is focusing on. And hence you have opportunities there that you could leverage. And, it's almost like kind of low-hanging fruit, but if you look for it, you can find a bunch of those opportunities, so yeah.
Got it. So like I have a dry erase marker in my hand. So would an example of short tail versus long tail might be, let's say, dry erase marker versus green low order dry erase marker with chisel tip?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. The more specific the keyword, the less the likely volume of of search volume for that keyword, because fewer people are going to put in their queries in that kind of exact manner. So that is definitely an example of the long tail versus the short tail. I like that example.
And I would imagine too, for something that's more of a long tail type keyword like that, it's very specific, so they know exactly what they're looking for. So if you can solve that itch, so to speak, then they're going to be more likely to buy it. Whereas dry erase, that maybe they're just starting their search.
Yeah,
and so everybody's trying to get into dry erase marker, but low order with chisel tip might be, adding those words might get you a more specific person at a less expensive cost. Is that a fair statement?
Exactly. And then, therefore, the long tail is actually where a lot of creativity comes in, where you really have to look for those keywords. You really have to look for those opportunities. But if you find a bunch of them, then, they start to give you results, and they can kind of make up, because they will be more profitable, because not a lot of competition exists for the long tail. And so they will make up for some of the competition that you have in the short tail. You will need both. you can't do without, you won't not bid on dry erase marker, or at least not at pretty high. You would still bid on it even with low bids. You won't give up that keyword, but the other keywords might be the ones that actually bring you better profitability. So you need a mixed strategy of including both.
Okay, great. Now, what recommendations would you have to start finding them? Because everything's hiding in plain sight if you know where to look. Sometimes the hard part is, where do you look?
Right. Yeah. So, I was just thinking that, for keywords, I think all the strategies about, discovering these long tail keywords are out there already. There's so many tools that can give you search volume, and you can kind of look at a comparison between your product and maybe, 5 or 10 or other competitors, and kind of come up with the most relevant keywords for you that others maybe aren't focusing on. But I think what I would like to focus on is, in most cases, I kind of also try to look for other opportunities outside of keyword based. So for example, product targeting, right? That's one of the ones that a lot of people don't focus on, because I guess we've been conditioned to think about keywords first, right? We've always kind of being taught that, relevancy, keyword ranking is so important. But, silently, Amazon started rolling out about a year and a half ago, product targeting, category targeting. And I am not sure if people completely maximize that opportunity, because it is a big one. It is a quick, fast way of getting onto page one by simply targeting your competitors, right? And people don't realize that your ad can show up when you target a competitor. And if that competitor is showing up on page one, you could also show up on page one through that route.
Gotcha. So you're not actually on page one, but because they're getting a lot of impressions and a lot of clicks, your billboard, so to speak, is showing up when people do click.
Ad, yes, your ad can show up on page one, right? Because you look at it this way: when you run product targeting ads, if those ads were only showing up on product detail pages, then your placement data would show it pretty clearly that, you're getting 0 impressions from top of search. That's not true, right? We always see top of search conversions and top of search impressions, even rest of search, which is also, part of maybe page one, half of page one, and the rest of search results pages, because your ad could be following your competitors that you're targeting. Now, that's an easy shortcut to showing up when you haven't even bid on those keywords that are so much in demand and they're so expensive, right? So this is another way to show up on page one for cheaper through product targeting and through category targeting. So not many people think of it this way, and which therefore makes it one of those kind of long tail opportunities where, because there's not so much focus on product targeting and category targeting, that you could maybe be the one to get in there first and early before it's all kind of taken up. So,
okay. Yeah. So how would you decide which products and which keywords to target?
Yeah. So, that's a great question. And actually, we wrote a blog post on our PPC Ninja blog for 10 different ideas on how to get these targets for product targeting ads. So I can name a few. So one definitely is, market basket analysis, which basically is Amazon's, internal data that they reveal through brand analytics. And this is the the shopping cart, what is composed of. So if let's say product A is bought together with product B enough number of times, let's say that number of times is 30% of the time, that means it's a good target for you to go after, because that pattern is kind of embedded in that percentage, in that number, right? The pattern of purchase. When someone is on, this listing, 30% of the times, if your listing shows up, then they're likely to buy, right? So that's a pretty high number that you can just take advantage of and proactively show up on their page, so that you can win that conversion. So it's like stealing either. From your competitors, or maybe let's say if you have a defensive strategy, then you could even place ads on your own product line so that you don't allow competitors to kind of fill up those spaces. So you're kind of blocking all the placeholders that are there on the product detail page. So yeah, so that's one way of finding products to go after. If you don't have brand analytics, which means, let's say you're a new seller, you're not even brand registered, you can still get that information through frequently purchased together, which is a carousel that kind of shows up at the bottom of your product detail page. But let's say you don't even have that because you don't have enough data, then you can simply look at the biggest competitor in your space and see what people buy together with their products, and so those could be targets that you could just simply pick up. So there's so many different ways to go about discovering products to target. But let's say you have absolutely no idea and you just don't have the time to go about it, then just set up a category targeting ad. Let Amazon do the work. They can go after the whole category and show your ads wherever there's an opportunity. And then the data that comes through the other side, which is your search term report, can tell you which ASINs converted through a category targeting ad. And then you can go after those ASINs. So you're basically harvesting, just like you harvest keywords, you're harvesting products here. And that could be a pretty substantial kind of set of targets to go after through product targeting ads. Yeah.
Got it. So so if I understand, so basically what you're saying is, just as with keywords, you might take an auto campaign, find keywords that maybe you hadn't thought of or weren't sure if they're going to be relative to your product, at least seeing what Amazon thinks. And then the ones that are converting, make those into a manual campaign. So you're saying do either from an auto campaign or from a campaign where you're just targeting the category, and then would you create a separate campaign that's targeting just ASINs?
Exactly. That's exactly right. So the analogy is perfect. Just like you have auto, you have category, right? Auto is to keywords, but auto is also to keywords and products. So you can use auto for both, but then category, you could just use it for harvesting products. So I think it works with the combination of these two ad types. You can really discover new products to go after. And I just want to add one more thing here. Amazon has made product targeting and category targeting available now for every single ad type. So you have it from sponsored products, you have it from sponsored brands, you have it from sponsored display and sponsored video. All four of them support both of these, product targeting and category targeting. So you can basically just set things up. And this is the long tail I'm talking about. If you can put the effort into setting up these campaigns, I know you'll end up with a lot of campaigns. But that's where most people aren't looking. They're focusing on keywords. You can focus on products, and you can set up your, I don't know, you want to call them funnels or traps or whatever, that people step into your funnels through many different, things that you kind of lay out everywhere, and get people to convert on your listings. So that's what we do. We generally start with either one of these two. These are quick, auto and category, and then start to harvest along the way more and more products that we can go after.
Okay, got it. So you've pulled your ASINs out of the auto campaigns as well as from the category targeting, and now you've done that. And so how do you structure those campaigns? Is it, one campaign would be one campaign is one product with one ad group, or are you recommending different ways of structuring that? Just out of curiosity.
No, absolutely correct. Yeah. So we always have, we tend to go with one campaign, one ad group, one product structure. That's the cleanest structure that helps to maximize your budgets, because I know a lot of people try to split out their ad groups. We don't do that because there's no mechanism on Amazon to direct your budget to a ad group. Let's say one of your ad groups is doing well, the other two are, let's say, getting starved of impressions. There's no way you can tell Amazon, hey, start giving more impressions to these other two.
Right.
It won't happen. So I almost think ad groups are useless for that purpose. Like, I literally do not think.
Yeah, like what's the whole point of it? Because with Facebook, you can do budgets at ad set level.
Exactly.
But with Amazon, you can't.
Yeah, exactly. So with Facebook, you could do that at the ad group level. Here you can. So I don't even, yeah, I've stopped using multiple ad groups in a campaign for anything, not even for splitting out broad, phrase, and exact, because that again creates its own problems of how do you manage, you want exact match to be getting the maximum impressions, but your broad match is running away with the budget. How do you divert that? You can't do it. There's no mechanism. So start out with campaigns that are specific to a match type and split them out that way. So so coming back to product targeting, all these different interesting places that you can run product targeting ads on. Through sponsored brands, you can run product targeting ads, and they often show up in, they take up quite a bit of the real estate on the product detail page. Like your lifestyle photo, that kind of takes up a lot of space, and it kind of stands out because lifestyle photos look better, and that's another way to kind of convert on these product targeting ads. And then with the sponsored display product targeting ads, you almost get no competition. Your ads show up under, let's say, the right rail, under the buy box, or under the bullet points. Those two areas almost have no competition. No, there's no other comparison with any other products. So it's almost like the best placement for getting eyeballs and stealing traffic from your competitors. So a combination of all of these can give you so much more leverage. And again, like I said, this is, for me, it's almost like a long tail opportunity because no one else is kind of focusing on it as much. They might do like a, half-hearted attempt at creating some ads in this area, but they don't do it as, meticulously as they would for keywords.
Gotcha. That's interesting. That's interesting. So you're saying that basically one of the best ways to get additional long tail that people don't always think about is start harvesting more ASINs, because to be honest, I don't even do much with the ASIN targeting. Like I know it's probably one of those things I probably should do more with, but keywords, there's something just more emotionally satisfying about keywords, because you look at it and you know exactly what it is. But when you see this string of B0 something something something, you're like, I don't even know what that is. So it's hard to like get that sense of, is this relevant or not? And then if they want to know what that means, you have to like actually look up that ASIN to see like what is it. So you're kind of having to go more just strictly by the data and just the science, but not getting the art and the emotion.
I agree. I think that's the reason why most people stay away or don't invest too much time in this. I definitely put in a little bit of spreadsheet work before I launch these campaigns, because all of my harvested products, would go onto a spreadsheet, and then I kind of split them up into no more than 10 to 20 per campaign. So I kind of just number them. There is no real way to recognize what's inside, as you said, because there's just a alphanumeric string. But I do try to tag my campaigns with the source. That's one thing I definitely do. Like, for example, if I've discovered those products from a market basket analysis, I will put dash market basket in the campaign name.
Oh, okay. So you're saying where you got these?
Just the source, because, it kind of tells you of the quality of the stuff inside. Like if you got it from, let's say, a tool that gave you, products in the space or whatever, that might be maybe a little bit less valuable than, let's say, if you got it from Market Basket, because Market Basket is direct data from Amazon telling you the conversion rates even of products purchased together with yours. So that's how I would just maybe add that tag onto the campaign name itself, so I always know what's inside.
Okay, interesting. So you've got different campaigns where you're tagging it within the name of where you got these ASINs. Now, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of overlapping of the same ASIN. So I've heard lots of conflicting beliefs on this matter. So curious what your opinion is. Do you even worry about the fact that you might have the same ASIN in multiple campaigns, or do you get into like deduplicating and making sure it's not in different campaigns, or negating it in one, leaving it in the other, or just it is what it is?
Yeah, I don't do a lot of negating. The dedupe, I think when I'm setting up these campaigns, I just do run a check to see if I'm not already, advertising it in some other campaign of the same type. And generally, once it's past that step, I'm okay with, if there are a few overlaps, I'm kind of okay with that. I don't really stress too much about it, because this is a lot of data we're dealing with, right? And we're not getting too much out of being extra OCD about
Right.
one or two overlaps. I'm generally okay with that. Yeah, but
Well, because correct me if I'm wrong, Amazon's not going to let you have multiple placements of the same product
on the same page, right?
on
No.
the same page. Yeah, exactly. So you're not going to be, duplicating spend.
No.
Whereas like almost every search-based platform does not want that to happen. Like Google is the same way too. Like in Google world, they're less likely to worry about if you have multiple accounts than Amazon does, as long as within the different accounts, you're not targeting the same keywords.
Right.
And so with Amazon, they have different issues with multiple accounts. But at the end of the day, if you're not selling the same product and you're not targeting the same keywords, you're not duplicating. So if you're within the same account, which bottom line, you shouldn't have to worry about that. And the algorithm is probably going to pick the one that they like the best anyway.
Exactly. I totally agree. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so let's talk about the long tail of products. Or sorry, not of products, of keywords.
Right.
So where would you now go now that you've delved into the long tail of products to get more placements there, which I still am going to believe that the long tail of keywords is still going to reap the rewards of more sales than the long tail of products. Although you could disagree.
No, I totally agree. The keywords are the meat and potatoes of everything we're doing. But I also believe that that's the space that is most saturated, and the CPCs are the highest there. Whereas we can win some lower CPC conversions with products and with categories, and that's how we kind of balance the whole game out by having both, a focus on both. But knowing that the CPCs for keywords are going to be typically higher. So looking for, just to answer your question about the long tail there, I definitely use tools to kind of come up with, the long tail keywords. I use 3 or 4 different tools, including brand analytics. I would definitely start with brand analytics as a way to find out, all the different variants of these keywords. Now, one thing about brand analytics, which is really, I guess, how you use brand analytics makes a lot of difference to what kind of keywords you get shown. My search on brand analytics starts from the shortest possible keyword, like almost a one-word keyword that describes your product somewhat. And that's the starting point, because then the results that you get will automatically tell you what other words before and after combine with this seed keyword. So I start with seed keyword. So for example, if I'm selling Bluetooth headphones, I will start with the keyword Bluetooth. I know it's broad, it's super broad, but that's what is going to reveal the whole list of keywords that have that word in. And then I will go through a second pass and clean it up, and I'll say, I don't need Bluetooth, maybe speakers or something else, a keyboard. I don't know the keyboard. I don't want the keyboards or the mice or whatever, and I can get rid of those. So Bluetooth would be my first pass with brand analytics. Second pass would be headsets. Third would be headphones. And I'd use one-word words to come up with a jumbo list of brand analytics results that I would then kind of line up, dedupe them, and then I use Google Sheets heavily. So I generally use this really cool checkbox feature in Google Sheets that you kind of just go down that list and just press spacebar and it checks it off, So it's like a quick process of eyeballing every word in that list and pressing spacebar as I go down. So I can say, these are the keywords I pick for this product. And so Yeah, so that kind of gives me a pretty long list of keywords that are kind of really valid, relevant keywords for me. So that's my first go-to. Then I use 2 or 3 other tools that also give pretty low search volume keywords as well, because brand analytics only gives you the top, I would say 1.5 to 2 million keywords total that are searched on Amazon. It's not the full exhaustive list.
Which isn't as many as we think it would be.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But then if you want even more, then you use other tools that give you search volume based results. And you could go down. There's one tool that even gives you search volumes as low as 5 or 6 a month, like 5-6 searches a month. That's maybe probably an overkill, but there is a lot of keywords. It's almost like we don't really have a problem of finding keywords. It's just a matter of testing them out, right? I mean, you can easily find 600, 700,000 keywords easily using a bunch of all these techniques. You can easily come up with those. Now it's just a matter of finding which ones click for you. And of course, you want to combine that with other strategies like making sure those keywords are perhaps present on your listing or in the back end somewhere, or you're indexed for each of the parts and so on, so that you can start to be relevant for those long tail keywords. Once you are, then then Amazon recognizes that, and then you can then it'll be easier both on the organic and the PPC side.
Awesome. Okay. So at the end of the day, it's find the long tail keywords, test them out, know that, because they're long tail, some of them mean that they're not going to get anywhere near as many as search impressions as low order chisel tip. I'm looking at the dry erase marker versus just dry erase marker because it's more specific. But, if you have this kind of arsenal of a bunch of keywords that, if they get 2-3 sales a month, you might be getting, if you add that up over time, that adds up to a lot, especially if there's a whole lot of those keywords. So are you putting, how are you structuring those versus your kind of more bread and butter short tail keywords?
Yeah, first would be the choice of match type. These long tail keywords are pretty good. They're pretty well aligned with exact match keywords, right? Because there's a search intent that is, we've found that through our data. So we can go exact match for those. With the broad match, I tend to have fewer keywords because I don't want to cause data spread. Let's say if all my long tail keywords were also broad match keywords, it would not add up to anything. Let's say if I had, give me an example, macrame wall hanger, or let's just use your example of dry erase marker. Okay, so dry erase could be a broad match, but let's say the dry erase marker with 0.5 mm fine tip or whatever does not need to be a broad match also, because the broad match the dry erase would catch that variant, of the long tail, right? Theoretically, we can't guarantee it, but theoretically, it should be able to catch it. And there are some cases where it probably won't, because not all those pieces are present, all those keywords are present on your listing, in which case, even Amazon won't consider that a match, maybe. But for the most part, fewer keywords as broad match is generally my strategy, so that I don't create a data spread. And
you don't end up with all of a sudden Amazon getting more creative with placements and where they're putting you, because Amazon's stated goal is to be one of the top players in paid advertising. And Jeff Bezos, I think, had famously said, the seller's margin is my opportunity.
Yes.
So I'd love to actually see the tape of that. I've heard that so many times over the years, but I've never actually seen him. And he's very, careful of what he says in public. So maybe he said it privately, and it's just, but I don't know. I've heard that, but maybe it's more of one of those urban legends. So Jeff, if you're listening, sorry if I'm misquoting you. But okay, so to make this actionable, what would you say are folks' next steps if they're just trying to figure out okay, it's time to start scaling my keywords and others because I have so many different competing things. I've got all these, whether they have a full-time job or this is their full-time gig, and there's just like so much stuff going on. Like, what is that next step?
Yeah. So I think a focus, like an intentional focus on ad coverage, is super important.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you have the time, you should just have a handy checklist of, do I have all these ad types for this product or not? So it's almost like a checklist. So we actually internally, we created a checklist with 33 different ad types. Now, you might think there aren't really 33 ad types, but, with all the nuances of, ad type and subtype, we actually end up with that many different ways to advertise, and so we have that checklist and we just kind of go along that. Now, it doesn't mean that we'll create 33 different ad types for one ASIN, but it just means that, when you run out of ideas or you're stuck with, I'm not getting enough sales, or I'm not getting, my ACOS is to the roof or whatever, then you have alternatives to look at. You have alternative strategies to try out, because it's all about trying and experimenting and learning from the data, right? So you can start wherever you want to start. And I would definitely recommend that when you're starting, you should have the basics, right? The basics covered, like the auto campaigns. Generally, we run 4 auto campaigns, 1 for each auto targeting groups. Then your match type based campaigns for keywords, exact match, phrase match, and broad match keywords. Those would be a bunch of different campaigns. And then definitely go for category targeting, because that's going to take care of the products that are in that category. And that would give you like an easy way to kind of go after products without really even putting in any time into researching what your product targets should be. So I think this would cover like the basics, and then you can kind of go to the next step of video ads. I just highly recommend video ads for anyone who is brand registered, because oh my goodness, the click-through rates are amazing. There's almost 6 to 7 times the click-through rate of regular ads. So if you're feeling like you're stuck, not getting impressions, not getting enough traffic, not getting conversions, then definitely try video ads. And it doesn't have to be like super fancy or anything. You don't really have to go into like studio production quality or any of that stuff. I mean, I've created video ads just by using Canva. It's easy. It's straightforward. Like if you have like your product photography in place, 2D photos you can easily do a pan and zoom style video ad with just animated text. There's a few different tools out there that you can use to create videos, and it's not that hard. So I would recommend, as a next step, definitely, or actually, if you can do it from the beginning, definitely have video ads running. Now we can target video ads for both keywords as well as category and product targeting. So, I mean, I'm still scaling my video ads out since, Amazon just recently announced the ability to target categories. But, that number itself can build quite a few new campaigns. Like whatever you have for your sponsored products, the same list of ASINs can be used for video ads. Whatever you have as keywords for your sponsored products, the same list can be used for video ads. But people just create one video ad and they call it a day. That's my problem. Like, oh my goodness, there's so much opportunity here. Like we can create more and more. There's never like a dull moment when it comes to, creating more ads. Now, I think a lot of people have this misconception that creating more ads means more spend. Doesn't mean that at all, because they're confusing budget with spend. They think, oh, I'll have to set up these different campaigns with $20 a day budgets. Well, those probably won't even get used up if you have the right bids. And of course, if you start bidding super high, like $3 or $4, then your $20 or $30 budget would maybe get used up pretty quickly. But you can experiment with low bids and decent sized budgets in order to kind of learn from your data and take advantage of all the research you've done on keywords and also with products to kind of replicate those across all the different ad types.
And if you're getting the return
Yeah.
does it really matter how much you're spending? So if you're putting in $1 and you're getting $2 back after all your other costs, does it really matter to you? You know?
Yes, exactly. Why would you have the mindset to cap your budgets when you could use your successful campaigns as money making machines or money printing machines?
Exactly.
They're printing machines, right? You just throw more, material at it and it creates more. So yeah, so I totally agree.
Awesome. Well, if somebody wanted to follow you or learn more, where would they go?
Yes, so you can follow us. You can just look me up on LinkedIn. I post a lot of stuff there. We also have a blog that I write regularly too. So ppcninja.com/blog if you want to follow our articles. And on LinkedIn, my handle is my full name, Ritu Java, RITUJAVA. So you can follow me there. Yeah, and otherwise you can look up our software or our services on ppcninja.com.
Awesome. Well, for the folks that are watching this on YouTube, that will be in the description down below. If you're listening to this on an audio podcast, that will also be in the show notes. Now, one thing I also want to give you credit for is you're going to be a speaker, depending when this comes out versus when we're going to start promoting it, but for the E-commerce Business Builders Summit in July of 2021. So for those listening, if you don't yet have a ticket, grab it. If you listen to this in the future, we might have limited time replays of that. So keep an eye out for that. So thank you so much, Ritu. It was great catching up with you and hearing your thoughts on PPC, which I know come from a lot of data history. So it's not just theory here. So much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kevin. I really appreciate the time. And I just want to leave your audience with just one kind of offering from our side. So basically, we run these PPC Mastermind programs all through the year. We have a 4-week free mastermind where we cover a lot of PPC concepts, and it's kind of fun because you get to interact with other sellers in a Zoom call. And these happen live. There's no recordings. We intentionally don't have any recordings. So if anyone is kind of interested in learning more about PPC, feel free to sign up. We have a link on our website, the ppcninja.com/PPC Mastermind. So if you would like to sign up, if you're listening to this now, we're going to have one coming up August 6th, 2021. But if you're listening to this later on, be sure to check it out because we're always running these through the year. So yeah, that's kind of my offer to your audience.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. So definitely recommend folks check that out. We'll link to that as well. So much appreciated. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kevin. It was great chatting. Bye.